Alright, good morning, people of YouTube. So we are back again today with another highly anticipated deck profile. This time it's going to be Blue Hybrid with a small splash of red. You might be wondering why we splash red at all in a Blue Hybrid. The deck is so consistent already. And the reason for that is because this deck kind of struggles into the Yellow Hybrid matchup. Just innately. Blue Hybrid can be outstalled by all the recovery that Yellow has. And Yellow can just kind of deal with all of the cards that you're building towards and possibly deck you out. So, with the cards like Takuya and EmperorGreymon, we now have a secondary win condition. And a more ability to just kind of swing face. So, let me go over the main combo that kind of sparked the idea for this deck. Right? So, Koji and Takuya both say that you can put 5 hybrid cards from under them in order to warp into their respective level 6s. So Koji puts 5 hybrids from your hand, and Takuya puts 5 hybrids from your trash. They are not color specific. So, in order to warp on top of Koji, let's say you have both of these out, and you have this Magna in hand, and you have like 5 hybrids in hand. You know, one of them is EmperorGreymon. 4 of them are random hybrids, You put them underneath this Koji, make this fat stack, and then you put this into a MagnaGuru, right? And so now you have this ability, and when you Digivolve this, you can put this EmperorGreymon back into your hand, and then you can bounce a level 6 that they control back to their hand, because this card says you can take a hybrid card in your sources and put it into your hand whenever you Digivolve or when you attack to bounce one of your opponent's cards with an equal or lower level. So that's really good. Playing the EmperorGreymons also gives you more sources for this card in your hand because they are hybrids and they can just go under this, and then by bouncing this you can remove bigger bodies. But also, you have this card back in your hand, right? And so then you have this fat stack. Let's say this fat stack dies. Well, all of the sudden, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hybrids in your trash. So you can put these underneath Takuya and evolve this into the EmperorGreymon that you just put back into your hand. And then you can swing with this with Blitz, and you have Security Attack +1 in your 14,000. And it just provides you a whole lot of aggression. Plus, we have this new option card called Starlight Velocity, which says you can take a Tamer or a hybrid from your sources of a hybrid and put it into play. So if you have this fat EmperorGreymon stack, or if you have a fat MagnaGuru stack, you can have this card, activate the Starlight Velocity, and pull out like a MagnaGuru from your sources. Or, if this is the play and you have the Koji, then you can pull out the EmperorGreymon instead, and you have 2 big level 6s in play for the cost of 3 memory. And you can just use this card to bounce their cards, and use this card to just swing in with Blitz, and you have easy access to play both of them because of Takuya and Koji. So that's the main combo that I was going for, and in testing, it's been working very, very well. Blue has many hybrids. You have a full level 3 line that you have access to. You have all of the new cards from Bt7. So getting 5 hybrids in your hand for this card is not a problem, and getting 5 cards in your trash for this card is not a problem. Plus, Strabimon is a generic searcher when it comes to Digimon, so it can just grab your EmperorGreymon if you ever want it. So that's always nice. But yeah, that's the main combo. So we'll go ahead and get right into the deck profile from here. Alright, so for the level 2s, I got a single copy of Kiaro and 4 copies of Upa. Upa triggers more often in my experience, but if you like Kiaro better, you can play 4 copies of this. The main thing you want is 5 eggs that will draw you cards. That way you can trigger your Koji's Inheritable Effect and your MagnaGarurumon's Inheritable Effect more often, because you can trigger those cards by drawing a card off of an effect. So, absolutely love these eggs. and they've been working out for me so far. So for the level 3s, I got 4 copies of the Bt6 Strabi, I have 4 copies of the Bt7 Strabi, and I have 3 copies of the Bt4 Strabi. So the important thing is we're loading up our level 3 lineup with a bunch of hybrids. That way we have more names that we can slap under our EmperorGreymon or our MagnaGarurumon. And the reason I'm maxing out on these and not this one is mainly because of space, but also because these cards have inheritable skills. You're going to be evolving in your raising area a lot, and so when you evolve a hybrid over these, your rookies need to be or have hybrid in their source or be Tamers in order for your blue level 4s to get their effects most of the time. So having a hybrid with an inheritable skill is very nice. This card will gain you memory whenever you swing if you are a hybrid, and this card will let you play a Koji from your hand whenever you're deleted. So both of these are really good, and both of these cards, whenever you hard play them, let you search more cards. And this card lets you see 4 cards instead of 3, but this card has the potential to grab 2 cards. So it's mostly player preference for this card versus this card, but since I am playing a full playset of Koji in this list, I am playing 4 copies of this Strabi. But absolutely love these rookies. Need a lot of level 3s with hybrids and a lot of level 4s with hybrids in order to get the deck going. So for the last level 3s in the list, I'm playing a single copy of Boco. This is a card I really want to find space for one more. This card searches most of the cards in the deck, and whenever you digivolve over a Tamer, you get to gain 2 memory. And it is really nice, but in my experience, we need more blue level 3s in this list, and the white level 3s we are kind of limited on space for. So most of that space is allocated for Nemon, actually. Nemon is really, really good in this deck. What this card allows you to do is on play you get to play any of your Tamers with an inheritable skill from your hand. So you have cards like Koji, you have Tommy, and you have Takuya. So you have a lot of targets. But even after you use your on-play skill, you have an all-turns effect that says when one of your cards with a Tamer in its sources is deleted, you get to play any Tamer back from your trash, which is absolutely nuts. You want to cycle those Tommies? Go for it. You want to cycle those Kojis? Also go for it. You want to get multiple searches with Davis? This card lets you do that. I absolutely love Nemon, and if you can get 1 or even 2 of these to stick on board for a good chunk of the game, you're going to be in a very, very favorable position. Even if you swing with your Kumamon at security with a Tommy under it, if that Tommy, or whenever that card hits the trash, if that Tommy was the only card that is in your trash that is a Tamer, you still get to play that, even though it was on the field just a moment ago. So, absolutely love Nemon, absolutely love Boco, and yeah, I can see myself going up 1 copy of each of these because they've been playtesting so well. But going right ahead into the level 4s, I got 4 copies of Kumamon. This card is just like Lobomon, but it has an effect. Whenever you evolve into it, you get to trash a Digivolution source from the bottom of one of their Digimon, which lets you trigger your Kiarumon and multiple other effects in the deck. We have 4 copies of Korikaku. This is the card that makes Blue Hybrid kind of broken. By digivolving into this, you can stun one of their cards with no sources, and that's really nice. And the last level 4 that we are playing in the list is a single copy of Kendo Garuru. This card can bounce pesky cards like Nemon and Bocomon and force them to hard play the Boco again if they want to gain more memory. Granted, they will get to search again, but if your main worry against yellow hybrid is decking out, then forcing them to get a second search maybe isn't the worst idea. But this card also bounces problem cards like the Tapirs and the Gazis and the Terriermons, Madoki Betamons, Syakomons, you name them. This card kind of gets rid of them. So, those are my 9 level 4s. We are playing 11 level 3s and 9 level 4s with hybrids, so 20 targets so far. For the level 5s, the only one I'm playing is 4 copies of Beowulfmon. This card becomes a 1 cost whenever you evolve it on top of a hybrid. And when attacking, you get to bounce a level 4 or lower by putting a hybrid from your Digivolution sources to your hand. So you only really get to do this once unless you evolve over like a Korikaku. But it is another hybrid in name, and it can evolve for super cheap and can help you bridge into level 6 if you are missing pieces and are sitting on multiple copies of MagnaGuru. So I do like Beowulf for what it does for the deck, and it's a very good card. Going right ahead into the level 6s, this is how you're winning the game. I got 3 copies of MagnaGaruru and 2 copies of EmperorGreymon. So absolutely love both of these cards. I don't really want to play 4 MagnaGaruru because I think it's kind of clunky, but I do want to have multiple boss monsters that I can pull out with Starlight Velocity. So I really do like the 3-2 split. I'm only playing 2 Takuyas in the list, so I felt like 2 EmperorGreymon was the most that I could make value out of. But you have a lot of value by slapping this underneath the Koji and then going into a MagnaGaruru and then like pulling one of these out with the Starlight Velocity and having 2 big bodies on the board for relatively cheap. And both of their effects are just kind of broken. This card helps clear their board, and this card is, again, one of the cards that they just don't want to block. You know, you have Koji that can make your cards unblockable anyway. So defending against this deck with cards like Mechanori or just standard blockers in general is really, really hard just because this deck just finds outs to all of them. So absolutely love this level 6 lineup, and it's been treating me well so far. So we got some options next. I got 2 copies of Starlight Velocity. Standard MagnaGuru list will typically only play 1 of this card, but because I am playing the EmperorGreymon, I feel like this card has a lot more value because you can pull sources out from under the EmperorGreymon as well. So absolutely love this card. We got 2 copies of Hammerspark. 2 is all I could really find room for. I do still really like this card, but people are bumping up the counts for Madoki Beta, Terriermon, and Gazimon. So this card finds less value this format. But it is still a great play extender. And memory this format is kind of inefficient just because you have to play a bunch of Tamers. And sometimes dropping like a 4-cost Tamer on your first turn doesn't really feel good. So if they set you to like 3 and you have a 4-cost Tamer and something else you want to do, then, you know, this is the card that lets you make that extra play. And there are countless situations like that, and I always find myself holding on to Hammersparks and turning games around with them. So absolutely love them. And then the last option that I'm playing in the main deck is Ice Wall. I will give you guys a side deck that I have for this list. This list can kind of smokescreen into pure blue hybrid, and it can also side in cards like Atomic Inferno, even Atomic Blaster and Gaia Force, or Casitas Breath, Absolute Blast. If I was going to play any blue removal in the main deck, I think I would play Absolute Blast, just because of all the source strip that you have access to with cards like Tommy. But you play the 1 Ice Wall because it's Ice Wall, and whenever you're not stunning things with Tommy and Korikakumon, you're stunning them with... you're holding on to your 1 Ice Wall and making that big play with this. So it's really nice. You still gotta play it. And then closing out the deck, we have the Tamers. I got 4 copies of Koji. Koji has a sick inheritable effect that says if you add a card to your hand during your turn, then you get to gain a memory. And that's only by effect, so if you use like an effect to draw a card off of Kiaro or Upa, it will trigger. If you add a card to your hand with something like Beowulfmon or MagnaGaruru, this will trigger. And gaining extra memory, like I said, with Hammerspark, will just let you extend your plays. And this is your primary means of warping and primary means of closing out the game, because MagnaGarurumon is just a great card. So 4 Koji, and then I'm playing 2 copies of Takuya. Again, you can warp on top of this card as well. This card will give EmperorGreymon a plus 2,000 boost and security attack plus 1, which is really nice. And I do side like Burning Greymon as well, because if you put a Burning Greymon, the one from BT4, on top of this card, then it'll go up to 11,000 on your turn and have security attack plus 1 as well, and will provide you a lot of extra aggression. That's something that this deck can do, is just side into more aggression, and I do love Takuya in the main deck, but having access to all these red cards as well, because you have this red Tamer, is something that this deck really appreciates. And we'll get more into that whenever I go over the sideboard. And then closing out the list, we have 2 copies of Davis, 2 copies of Sora and Joe, and 2 copies of Tommy. So I see a lot of people playing 3 copies of Davis and 3 copies of Sora and Joe, and many more copies of Tommy. And I would be playing more copies of all of these cards if I wasn't playing so many copies of Koji and fitting in the Takuya. I do have the other 2 copies of Tommy in the sideboard, but Sora and Joe and Davis, I'm not really missing the extra copies in this list. Maybe it's just because I have enough cycled and I see a lot of my cards and I can search my Tamers pretty well. But the only Tamer that I have in my deck that I want to bump the number of copies up on in the main is Tommy, because this card is just absolutely cracked. But Sora and Joe is also really good. You know, Davis sets you to 3 and lets you make most of your plays while also grabbing you a card. That's really nice. So, absolutely love the Tamer lineup in this list. But, yeah, that's it for the main deck. So we'll go into the sideboard now. I got 2 copies of Tommy. This is where the other 2 are. These and the 3 copies of Sayako are cards that you can swap out for the Takuyas and the EmperorGreymon if you need to go a little bit faster. Because you can just play a mono blue deck at that point and be a little bit more fine. Plus, Sayako's really, really good into the hybrid mirror. And Tommy is, again, just really nuts. And I do still play 4 in my list. It's just not all 4 are in the main because I'm making room for Takuya. Speaking of Takuya, there's 1 more in the sideboard. This card allows me to play more red cards in my sideboard, like the Burning Greymon that I mentioned, and the 3 copies of Atomic Blaster. So I'm not playing Atomic Inferno. I felt like this deck had enough aggression already. Atomic Inferno is the 1 cost option that lets one of your hybrid cards get plus 3,000 and security attack plus 1. And if I want more aggression, I just side into these 2 cards. And if I want to clear a bunch of tiny Digimon off the board, there's always Atomic Blaster. So I really do like these 10 cards specifically. You could make room for Madoki Betamon. You could make room for Absolute Blast or Gaia Force if you want. But these have been treating me so well, or pretty well in my playtesting with my friends. But this is a deck that definitely needs a little bit more playtesting just for a finalized list if I was going to take this to a major tournament. But I really wanted to get this idea out there because I haven't really seen a lot of people abusing these cards in tandem. You know, the concept of just using this and using your effect to fill your trash so that you can go into this seems really busted. MagnaGuru and EmperorGreymon have synergy that I didn't really think I'd find in Bt7, and I'm very, very happy that I did. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I know this is a little bit longer of a video, but this deck has a lot more going for it as in terms of like combo potential and the ability to just kind of pop off on your opponent. So it took a little bit more explaining than your standard deck. So let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.